What's the most likely geologic hazard to occur in Yellowstone National Park on human timescales? Answer might not be what you think it is. That's going to be the subject of the September 2023 update from the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. Now remember, if you enjoy videos like this, please like and subscribe down below so we can bring you more content in the future. This is Mary Bay on the north side of Yellowstone Lake. It's an indentation into the lake shore. It almost looks like some giant took a bite out of the lake shore. And you can see it's ringed by these small cliffs. That's because this is a hydrothermal explosion crater. It formed about 13,000 years ago, and in fact it's the largest hydrothermal explosion crater known on Earth, at about 1.5 miles across. It wasn't formed by volcanic activity, but rather purely by water flashing to steam. Now, large craters like this happen every few thousand years in Yellowstone, and you can find them in many places, especially around the lake and in the area of Lower Geyser Basin. These hydrothermal explosions seem to be triggered by changes in pressure in the subsurface that allows the water to turn into steam. You might imagine 13,000 years ago, there was a thermal area out here that looked perhaps not so dissimilar from what Old Faithful looks like today. But suddenly there's a change in lake level and water is loading and unloading from that thermal area. That's the pressure change that's needed to allow some of that water to flash to steam. And when that happens, kaboom! You get a huge hydrothermal explosion. Smaller hydrothermal explosions happen as well, and these are much more frequent. They're almost annual events, although most happen in the backcountry areas, and they escape notice. One example of a small explosion in a well-known thermal area was that of Pork Chop Geyser in Norris Geyser Basin in 1989. The geyser had been displaying anomalous activity for years, and the explosion seems to have been the result of the geyser's vents suddenly becoming constricted, building pressure in the subsurface. The explosion was witnessed by several tourists in the basin, but fortunately no one was injured. These sorts of small explosions are an underappreciated hazard, yet are the most likely to occur in Yellowstone at any given time. Well, that's the story of hydrothermal explosion craters from here at Mary Bay. Now let's talk about seismic, deformation, and geyser activity that occurred during the month of August in Yellowstone. It's been an average summer for earthquakes in the Yellowstone region, and August was no different. The University of Utah seismograph stations located 136 events during the month. The largest was a magnitude 2.7 that occurred on August 12th, just south of Yellowstone National Park. There was also one small swarm on August 2nd to the 4th to the north of Old Faithful. The largest of this swarm was a 1.7. And then finally, we see this ever-present band of seismicity that extends from Hebgen Lake in towards Norris Geyser Basin. This is the most seismically active part of the region, so no surprise to see the earthquakes scattered in that area. Also, not a whole lot of changes in terms of ground deformation. This is vertical deformation at the White Lake GPS station on the east side of the Caldera for the last 2 years. Each one of these blue dots is 1 day's worth of data. Downward trends indicate subsidence, and upward trends indicate uplift. Overall, this site and the whole caldera have been subsiding since 2015 at a rate of a couple of centimeters or so, about an inch or so per year. That's interrupted in the summer months by a pause in the subsidence or even a little uplift. And this is caused by spring snowmelt and runoff that percolates slowly into the ground and causes the ground to swell like a wet sponge. So you see it here in 2022 and here to a lesser degree in 2023. That seems to be rolling over, and we might expect the caldera to return to its normal subsidence in another month or two. Now looking at the tallest geyser in the world, Steamboat Geyser in Norris Geyser Basin. This is the temperature record in the geyser's runoff channel, and all of this little up-down motion is recording small minor eruptions of the geyser that culminated in the first eruption, major eruption of the geyser in 77 days here on August 25th, the 6th major eruption of the year. And after that eruption, we went back down to air temperatures because the geyser is no longer having minor eruptions. So finally had an eruption of Steamboat this summer. Some of you might remember that there was also a section of boardwalk that was closed in the Old Faithful area on Geyser Hill due to some new activity that started in May and June. All of those features are now dormant, and in August, that boardwalk closure was lifted and Geyser Hill is now completely open. Well, that does it for the September 2023 YVO update. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions whatsoever, email us at yvowebteam, that's all one word, at usgs.gov. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.